we were heretics, lunatics, in that A word because we went against a bunch of small companies like Microsoft and SAP and Oracle and Siebel. And
Wow.
so,
What are some of those early steps that you like to put in place in the go-to-market? Where are you spending those early dollars? Bobby, welcome back to Chalk Talk. How are you?
oh, I'm so excited to do Chalk Talk today. It reminds me of guess what's coming around the corner?
Uh-oh. What?
The Olympics.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
exciting time, right? We get to see the best of the best in the world compete on a stage. And it's an exciting time of the year, in my opinion, right? Because we get to
I
actually see what people prepare for, and those folks just do one thing: they focus on excellence and execution, which is the heartbeat of any go-to-market strategy.
I love it. You started right where I wanted to also, which is the go-to-market strategy, the go-to-market plan. It's kind of interesting, right? Because we're in July, as long as you're talking about timing. We're started Q3 of the second half of the year. So now we got to run the second half of the race. But this is the more important part of the race, right? How do I get going? How do I kickstart my go-to-market in the second half if I am a little bit behind?
Well, let's just start taking industry information, and everyone is behind. It was a first half that, whether you take the information from Pavilion, and we can cite these and actually share them for the audience so that they can see them,
Sure.
that the first half of the year probably had three things wrong with it. Go to market was not what people expected because we're still in a post pandemic world, and we're also have this inflection of AI. What is it? Is it a distraction? By the way, Keith, this is no different than 10 years ago at Twilio, where it was APIs and what can I do, and 20 years ago, the cloud and what can I do. So these every decade, these new things come up. And our whole goal is what can we have taken from what we've learned to demystify that quick thing to go to market, or is it a long, slow burn because you have education and awareness? But I'm out talking to companies every single day and week. And last night I was at this event and there were 40 or 50 founders. And it was interesting. It really revolved around I can build things, but if no one buys it, what do I do? And it's a true story. It's all about the go to market today.
Yeah. Wow. So how does a go-to-market strategy change now compared to, say, a few years ago? And I'm looking to, again, identify who my ICP is, who's the customer, how do I message them? How do I get the message to them? How do I build a solution for them?
Right. So what you're talking about is what we had learned, which is Boy Scout, Girl Scouts 101. Who's my ICP? Do they need me? And by the way, we see every go-to-market company telling them, and people need to know that because you can't go outside unless you put clothing on. And that's what that layer is. But this is where then, by the way, this came up this morning on a call. When I understand that layer, I immediately go, oh, what's my sales methodology? Well, while you need one, there's no way in hell that some canned methodology that outlined this med pick, my pick, you pick, she pick, he pick, will, whatever that would be, will allow me to address today's problems. Yes, it's a framework that I can learn the pain points in those things. So 3 or 4 years ago, you and I ran groups and departments, and I got a budget, and I was told, get your $500 million and you make it happen. And all of a sudden, I had autonomy on what I could spend, and I had a finance business partner, and I really controlled my own destiny. Today, that doesn't happen. Every expense is getting scrutinized. Everything is there a different ROI that we're looking at. And the ICP today, I tell people, is the CFO. If you can't really register with them, yes, you can have a developer be an ICP because they're going to utilize it. But if someone's stroking the check, I
Yeah,
guarantee you, I guarantee you, C-suite looks what spending goes to.
right. There's a recommendation, there's an influence, there's a decision.
Oh, you get a champion, a sponsor, all that stuff still stays true. But you're being held to a higher level of ROI and accountability. I mean, think about it though. Everything that you're pitching. Okay, let's just take this for example. This came up last night as well. When I was at Salesforce, there were probably 3 or 4 marketing companies. You had Eloqua, Marketo, Exact Target, like some of these names. How many are there today, Keith? 2,300 different marketing applications. As a person, how am I supposed to know what to do and what to consume? And that just screams to me, spend, spend, spend. Like I
Right,
didn't hear,
right. You find the
I didn't
find
hear.
the cheese. Find the cheese is the old phrase.
Where's the Willy Wonka ticket? Is there a golden ticket in any of those 2,300? And that's a lot to demystify how to get into there. So I think you're going to see a streamline go to market. It's interesting. I think you'll see more alignment around money spent and the return across the executive team than we've ever seen before.
And Bobby, where's that money going, especially for a company? I know you tend to specialize in that early stage company with the firm, and you guys try to get them going from accelerating onto that on ramp and then moving quickly out of that first lane and on a good success track record, a good path. The fast lane, but that does take a while. What are some of those early steps that you like to put in place in the go to market? Where are you spending those early dollars?
Fundamentals are the most important part and salient points for people to come across. You don't have to be tricky. And you'll hear me say here LCD, lowest common denominator. What's in it for me? Make me feel important. And those simple things. But it's very clear that I always say first 10. If you're a founder and you start a company and you've never worked in finance, don't start a finance app. You don't know anyone to call to ask the questions for. And you and I see that, and that's when we run. Like, there's no way we can help them. There's not a life preserver that will save them. But when you get that one stroke of the person that says, I lived in this department, I had that problem, and I want to go help these people because I know how painful it is, then we end up going, who's our first 10? And those 10s will be 100% referenceable. They're going to be friends or friends of friends, and we're going to connect to them very easily. And one of the things we do here is, we have an extensive network of 40 years of a bunch of executives that says, this is my problem. And as long as you're not bringing us FDA approved drugs, we'll probably find some way to get into one of the folks that you want to have a talk to. And then I say, okay, of those 10, what's the repeatable motion and common theme? And I like to measure conversation to cash, C to C. People call it CAC, LTV, whatever. I don't care. What I really want to know is, when did you learn about me? When did I get something from you? And what else can I do for you? Why is that important?
Awesome. No, that's awesome. And thanks for not leading into that drug conversation. How about having the CRO, the CMO, the CEO making calls, booking meetings, getting demos in those early days? How important is that? Or do you leave it up to your SDRs, BDRs, and see if they can tread water?
So I'm going to give a big shout out to this guy that you all know. You use his product, Henry Struck from Zoom Info, and we should definitely point to this. He did his first 100 deals. Why is that important? And by the way, he's not a developer. He's actually a commercial person. So the fact that he jumped in and did those things, and if you look at any of his demos, he can operate the product just like Benioff did, as good as any of us, because he believes in what he's doing. And so I preach to the founders. If you can't show up, sit down and don't come out. And in most cases, that means you're going to fail. And by the way, the reason I get this feedback, Keith, is they then go to look for money, and you sort of hear from the VCs, is that the right person? Do they have the right attitude? Are they commercially capable and savvy, and do they understand those things? So the first is, everyone's in sales. We could really talk about where I've said that in my past in the
Yeah.
apple carts. It's upset because if you don't sell something, you're a starving student, starving artist, and you have to pay. Yeah, like,
Obviously, I'm right there with you in that respect, especially early on. Things change as companies grow and CEOs, CXOs have more responsibility in a lot of other areas that start to pile on. But I love the idea of this all all on board, at least early stage, and then finding a way to keep it going on a maybe less frequent but still consistent basis.
we did this best at Salesforce because you have to remember we were heretics, lunatics, in that A word, because we went against a bunch of small companies like Microsoft and SAP and Oracle and Siebel. And so we were really running against that grain. And to get there, we had to set ourselves apart. But every executive, we called it connect the dots. And you would put your list of all, we saw the accounts for the quarter that we were going after, and every executive had to put their name on at least 10. And then you were responsible for making those introductions to the people you knew, to the salesperson, and you were accountable to making sure that that actually happened. It's so big.
I've seen you manage that play in current companies, so maybe some things don't change, huh?
No. Drew Seacrest went and created a product called Connect the Dots, and because he believed in it so much. And so it's not just a reality of a tactic, but people believe in it so much that they bet their lives on it.
Yeah. Hey, I have another question. When you see a company getting close to that $50 million in sales, that's a very successful company. They're well on their way. Where are you seeing some blind spots in companies that have that going on in their go to market? Again, they're keep adding coal to the fire. Let's keep adding salespeople to the process.
Yeah.
Let's keep, let's add maybe another product to the mix or something. What else are they typically missing in your experience, having consulted with a bunch of these companies?
100%. So I think you just hit on two, it's a fork in the road. So if I'm at 50 million, the first question I'm asking, why only 50? And what's stopping you from being at 100 right now? Or is the market not that big? Because it really is, can I get to one? Can I get to five? Can I get to 10? 10, you go to 20, 25-ish, right? Because you get to these motions. From
Yep.
25 to 50, I've got repeatable motions that get me there. So I need to know, can I sharpen them? Or to your point, We knew we wanted to be $1 billion. We got that motion at Salesforce. How many sales reps, if they carried a $2 million quota, do we have to hire, Keith?
So it's simple math at one level.
It's one level, 600, because it's an extrapolation. Why? If you want a billion at 500 salespeople, that 100 is that cushion for the bell curve of performers, low performers, high performers, ramp time. Now, what I would argue is, I meet a company at $50 million, I want to know a few things. Do you own your market? Are there competitors? And can you double down, or should you be distracted with an additional product? Because with 50 million, you've got enough of a foothold and hopefully trust with your customers that you understand I'm either going to let you run my product roadmap so I get more entrenched into your business and help you, or I'm going to figure out what do I go buy and acquire so that I can actually keep you happy and not have someone come sort of taking my, what I like measuring wallet share, market share. You'll hear me a lot measure. If you don't measure, stop doing it. Like everything needs to be measured.
Yeah, right.
I learned that. I'll give a
I
shout
would
out.
say,
I'll give a shout out to this now not so young man, but we were on the same team tackling a project, George Who, and we had the opportunity to work together. And we talked early on in his career, like the importance of knowing the metrics and understanding the importance and variances associated with them. And today, I mean, that's so true.
bro, we've heard that if you can't measure, it don't matter.
Yeah.
That seems to be one of the specialties of the firm. What else would you say the go-to-market firm specializes in from the
Unco- yeah.
handful of folks you've consulted with even this year? What would you say you really zero in on, and where do you make the biggest dent?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Someone asked that question always, you're like, why are you a firm? We do practice work. And someone goes, what does that really mean? And I go, you're not going to get a big report. We're not some analyst company. Yes, we can get that information, but you're going to get an action result plan that will actually say must do's, nice to do's, don't do's. And as you think through that facet, it's more important not to do things. Let's be very, very, very clear.
Yeah.
And so as you think through sort of that line of sight, that's probably the most important piece is size of prize, climb that hill. And which is why I believe in daily, weekly measurements. Okay, our team reviews, where are we? What's going on? What's that North Star? Because then everyone's rowing in the same direction, not getting hitting the head with the oar.
So it really does fit with Chalk Talk. It's like, okay, what are the plays we're running now? Who owns
100%.
it? Who's going to be accountable, and who's going to make the play? Who's
Yeah.
going to make it happen?
Now, what we really should talk about is, hey, in I've been fortunate in the industries in which we went to tackle electricity, smart grid, sensors and ceilings. How did you become number one in a global standard? And at the firm, because we don't say here's these playbooks you run and you do that, we deconstruct to reconstruct. And when I look at an industry, I try to understand what's that ecosystem that will matter so that I can understand further faster. And now it's just not Bobby. I've got an entire entity driving this industry. And that can be seen in all of the successful exits in which we had, where we grew not double, double, triple, triple. And you always say like 100% week over week, month over month, like not blitz scaling, hyper scaling before it was even a word.
Hyperscalers. All right. Hey, this has been a great episode. I promised I wouldn't keep you too long. We have got some other stuff to do. Let's take a break, and I will catch you with the next episode soon.
All right, let's make it happen.